Oh my gosh, we are live. Kim and Amanda is live. Oh, after last week with all the technical difficulties, and we even had a few this week, but that's okay. We are here. We are live and we are alive. Welcome back to another Your Bold Voice. I am like so excited to have my guest Amanda on the show today. I don't think she knows this about her, and I'm not quite sure, Amanda, if I shared it with you when we were all together in Carol's space, of before the holidays. I know Amanda through another friend, actually not a mutual friend, Carol Eckerly, and I saw you, Amanda, doing some things with Carol. And when I saw your pictures and Badass Engineer, I thought, I gotta know this girl. So I got to know this girl. But welcome back to another Your Bold Voice, where I showcase fascinating females who are only owning their bold voice and success on their terms, letting go of, taking the risks and letting go of the imposter phenomenon and other people's opinions. And I
Mhm.
can add now, I've had a few smart men on my show. There's always space in my business for some amazing men, even though I work specifically with women. But let's jump in. I want to do this wonderful, well deserved introduction of Amanda Mohan. She is a badass engineer trying to make things better for others, especially other female engineers. Her education is she has a BSEE from LTU and a MSEE from Oakland University. And she is currently residing in the role as a senior engineer manager at ZF. On the personal front, Amanda is a mom of two beautiful children and a wife to an amazing man. And she loves to run, travel, bake, and continuously learn new things. And I think that is one of many ingredients, Amanda, that makes you so badass and so amazing that you love to continuously learn new things. So, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to finally be here with you as well.
Yes. All right. So, let's jump in. First of all, when did Amanda know she wanted to be an engineer?
Oh my goodness. Actually, when I was somewhere between 7 and 9, there was an amazing program through Henry Ford Vocational Center down in Wesleyan, Michigan. And they were offering a summer program to get girls interested in male dominated fields. And I happened to take the electronics class. So I built a little alarm clock. Actually, I have up here on my display in my background. But I also got to solder with various components. And I just knew during that 1 week that electronics was my way to go. And then throughout my schooling, when I got to middle school, so 3 to 5 years later, um, I actually did a research project on electrical engineering versus electrical technicians.
Mm.
And all I knew was that I wanted to do electronics hands-on. So since I was a little girl, that's all I wanted to do. And doing that research kind of help guide me to I want to do more design and understanding how and why things are the way they are. So ultimately, yeah, electronics engineer. So
And you are, in fact, when you and I were sitting next to each other back at Carol's Space, right before the holidays, you had mentioned that you had just recently got a promotion. Am I correct?
yeah, actually, what's it? It's probably been over a year now, but I did get a promotion to senior engineering manager. And then I recently did a more lateral move going from a straight design front to what I'm doing now is focusing on processes and various engineering improvements where I can plug in and help various teams out.
And I do believe you said to me that night that this is your first time leading a full female team.
Yes, but now I have an exception because we do have one gentleman that joined the team since I talked to you. So there's a little bit more diversity there, but when I started on this team, yeah, I was working with purely females, which was amazing, and the first time ever be surrounded by so many great women because there's not many women in engineering in general.
No, I mean, it's still in the 21st century, a very male dominated industry, along with like attorneys. I mean, I think the percentage, and listen, I'm going to say this live. Don't hold me to the correct percentage. I'm just thinking, and I think I'm around, but I think it's around like 3% lawyers, in a collaborative group, are women. I mean, it's such a very low percentage of women that are attorneys. And I'm sure, I don't know what the percentage is in engineering, but I know engineering is a very male dominating type industry. But I love the fact that you, from a very young age, that you knew you wanted to build, and you got your hands on the electronics, and you're like, it's because a lot of us, when we're 7, 8, 9 years old, I mean, I don't know, yeah, I was playing with, Barbies, and I was doing dance lessons. My parents had enrolled me in the local dance studio, which took over my whole life up until I graduated high school. But, it's interesting how you knew that so young. Are there any,
Yeah.
are there other engineers in your family?
In my immediate family outside of my husband, who's an engineer, no. Actually, my husband and his extended family, there's a lot of engineers. In my family, I'm fairly confident. I'm trying to go through all my extensions. I'm the only engineer.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing most of in corporate? Because you're in corporate. I was there 100 years ago, and I'm not even that old, but in
Can't be
corporate,
that old. Don't worry.
no, I'm not that old, no. But a long time ago. Let's just say it that way. What are you seeing with women in corporate? You and I had a little bit of a dialogue that night, but what are your main concerns, the main challenges that you are still hearing in this 21st century with women in corporate America?
Sure. I mean, we've made significant progress, but we are far from perfect. Nothing is ever perfect, so we can still improve where we're at today. There's still discrimination,
Yeah.
unfortunately. There's still the undertones that are applied or the hidden workloads that are given or assumptions, our biases, whether intentional or especially the unintentional ones, are still there from the underlying society that, we were based on, the old white man, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So not just for women, but for all diversity, there's still those undertones there. So as we work towards that, obviously there's lots of areas that we can improve on, but even still, from a corporate perspective, speaking about women, and something that I'm trying to address as well, I'm always very cautious when a company sets a goal to make sure they have a certain percentage of women in upper management. I love the idea of creating the diversity and the inclusion and making it a point to review those, um, you know, the people that are less represented. But in the same aspect, we need to be cautious on those values as well, because those people that are underrepresented, especially as new engineers, just speaking personally about new engineers and going through my career as an early engineer, my confidence was super low. And especially
Hmm.
being one of the few in the majority, right? You don't have many allies to begin with, so you don't know how or what you should be confident in. And when you start creating those types of goals, it does bring into question, well, am I being hired specifically to achieve that goal, or am I being hired because of the talent I bring? Now, I'm more than confident, definitely not perfect by any means, but I have a lot more confidence now than I did as an entry level engineer. And I know that when I'm selected for a position, I definitely bring the game, right? I'm confident in myself, but I do worry about the younger generations and making sure they have that confidence and not second guessing themselves, because that is something that comes up. That's a big topic I've been trying to have a dialogue on. Like I said, totally pro getting the representation in there, but maybe the approach can be a little bit different than saying we need 20% women in our management organization, right?
Yeah. When I hear you say that, and I know a lot of orgs are doing it. In fact, we just had a president say with the opening, we are going to place a black woman into this. And to me, those are all no-nos because it's like, we're going to check a box. Okay, can we stop checking boxes and put the most qualified
Yes.
person in that place and leverage the qualifications, not just a black person or a woman of color or a man of color or, or a Caucasian woman or what
Hmm.
leverage and level the playing field and let's just stop looking at, the whole inequity of a pay scale. I mean, Amanda,
Yes.
you and the man sitting next to you go to the same schools, the same degrees, the same grades, and a man is still paid higher. Still paid
Yeah.
higher. There's still that gap between a white man and a white woman. And then when it comes to a black woman, it drops down. And then a
Yeah.
Latino woman, oh my God, is the lowest paid. It's like, when do we get to stop doing that? And a lot of times I will say, we as women, like you were saying, even if we're entry level, coming out of college, coming out of university, getting into our first jobs, of course our confidence isn't going to be soaring because of our age and wisdom and things like
The
that.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
experience, it takes time. But, how do we evolve into that and lessen well, first of all, I want the gap. I don't even want there to be a gap. And I'm starting to sound like a fairy godmother here, but seriously, 21st century, let's stop checking boxes and having gaps. But I'm with you. In fact, I don't think I shared with
Hmm.
you that night back in December. I just recently got a certification in November. Speak Up and Influence. It's designed for in corporate for women to really speak up and influence. It's one of the things that I'm implementing this year because I'm a big, huge proponent
Awesome.
like you are.
Yeah.
It takes time. You're not going to graduate with a master's like you did and come into the workplace and just whoa. But it's
Rocket. Yeah.
how do you enter it without wearing that imposter syndrome suit phenomenon that we have that dunks away at the confidence. When we're constantly second guessing, and then before you know it, we're holding our voices back at the table and we're playing really small. We're under the table.
Yes. You need to come and sit at the table. Show that you are there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
the pay disparity there. I am married to another white man engineer, and we went to the same schools. Well, at least Lawrence Tech, that's where we met. And he doesn't have a master's, and technically from a hierarchy, he's an engineering manager where I'm a senior engineering manager. He still gets paid more than me.
Yes.
Now, granted, I'm okay with that because that's our own personal situation, but in the same aspect, it's very clear that that disparity is still there.
Mhm.
So that's just one example, and I personally live it. But yeah, if we don't start these conversations, we're never going to be able to change it. And that's mainly been my mission with this whole LinkedIn journey and utilizing Carol. She's helped leverage and grow me in that way to really just start the conversation so we don't have these are not taboo topics anymore, right? Because if we don't start the conversation, nothing's going to change. If we don't bring awareness to these and get the intentional inclusion that you are mentioning, then until we have the point where we have full intentional inclusion, we'll always have that checkbox approach.
Yeah.
We need, a certain color, we need a certain gender, we need a non-gender. It's very disappointing until we can treat everybody the same way. Well, there'll always be those check boxes, but we can start the conversations to start
Yes.
eliminating
Yeah.
those boxes. That's really what we need.
And we need women. Okay, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna also retract on what I'm gonna say. We need women strong enough to be able to, like you say, come to the table. But it's not all just on
Mhm.
us. We need men that
To
are
be
not
allies.
yes, that are not just
Yes.
gonna just get up and pull out the chair and take my seat. No, sit down. but speak up and partner up with me, like, okay, come to the table and simply say, look, I'm not going to do this until my counterpart can be, like we had an actor
Yeah.
do this, I think a year or two ago. He did come to a table. I can't remember who the actor was. I was out walking here in South Carolina. We're down in South Carolina for 5 weeks to get out of that Michigan winters that you are experiencing. But
Yeah.
I was out walking, and I'm that type of person. I'll say good morning to everyone, but the other day I passed a gentleman, hi. I, Grace and I went on a walk, came back around, and we were passing him again. And I just looked at him and went, "Whoa, you went far, I went far. We're passing each other again." We stopped and we were chatting for a minute, and he was talking. I learned that he just recently took a position at Amazon. He's pretty high up at Amazon. And he was telling me a little bit of his background. And, when I was just talking, he goes, we do need more women with aspiration and inspiration to want to elevate in these organizations, and I looked at him and I just went, wow, what a breath of fresh air. He goes, I'm having those dialogues at Amazon. And I'm going to say this is not a white man that was speaking. This was a man of color that was speaking, and so
Yeah.
that, I mean, really took my breath away in a good way to hear that in his department, that he oversees a huge piece in Amazon. It's a brand new leg
Yeah.
since we've had this pandemic. He said, I'm very much talking about getting women, and let's get some coaching, and let's help not just women, but how do we bring the men into the dialogue? And I'm like, there we go. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's great. One of the things also said to me that night in Carol's studio is, you're like, I maintain my boundaries, Kim. I've maintained my boundaries. Talk to me about that.
Well, I underwent a pretty significant health scare the last couple of years. So I've also been open about it on LinkedIn as well. So I had breast cancer, and I am now a survivor. I'm actually a thriver, as my doctors would put it. So I'm doing fairly well. But in going through that, I did heavily recognize the need for boundaries and making sure that we can honestly survive for the long haul versus the short one. We need to make sure that we're here long term and not just short term. And the the efforts that I was putting in the past was significantly more in crossing into my personal life as well with my family, impacting them. So I've made it a point now to make sure that there are clear boundaries. And working from home, it makes it even harder to really make sure that those boundaries are clear. But I have a good routine to make sure that I'm separating my time. My calendars are fully updated, so I make sure I dedicate personal time to family and I have my work time. There's always interruptions and being a little bit fluid in that, but really concentrating to make sure that those boundaries are not merging together, that gray zone isn't large. It's more concrete and smaller now, but there is always going to be some gray zone.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm making it a point to make sure that that is the case. So,
I like that, the gray zone, getting comfortable with the gray zone, because a lot of women that I'm talking with is, again, I was just thinking the other day, we didn't get, okay, 90 days, we're going in quarantine. It was overnight, we're going in quarantine. And a lot
I
of
bet.
people are not meant, and this doesn't mean right, wrong, good, bad, or anything. A lot of people are not
Mm-mm.
meant to be working from home. I love working from home. I really do. I've been doing it for many, many years. Um, we have a society that's been pounding into our heads. You get in the car on Monday morning, you drive to that brick and mortar, you collect the paycheck, you get the benefits, and you do the 401k and all that stuff. Um, and all of a sudden, overnight, people are like, okay, you're working from home. And a lot of our homes weren't even,
Equipped.
well, we're not equipped,
No.
and nor do people have the resources to equip. I mean, we had to do a little bit of a shift with my husband,
Yeah.
shifting to work from home and stuff like that as well. So a lot of women that I'm talking to in organizations, I'm hearing such high burnout. They're working more than they ever did. And it's like, okay, hang on, time out. understand that we can go from one Zoom meeting to the next without having to walk down a really long
Oh my
hallway in a building
gosh.
or get in a car and have to go see a
Yeah.
client or whatever the case may be. But it's how do we pause and pace ourselves so that the burnout goes down? So that because we still, as women, we wear that we success is tied to the harder we work, the more we can prove ourselves as women, and we're up there with men, which is BS.
Yeah,
It's BS.
absolutely.
So how, as we as women, how do we manage all of that?
So personally, the last couple years, especially during COVID, I've made it a point to block out sections in my calendar
Mm,
for just a 10-minute or 15-minute or 30-minute, depending on the day, stretch and break, coffee break. And I do throw in, so I've also extended it to many of my colleagues that I want to make regular catch up with. Because the one thing I do miss about being in the office is the personal connection, the face to face meetings.
mm,
But I do love in this virtual environment now, I can. My company has been gracious, and many people have even gone further and gotten cameras for their computers. So we can virtually meet now more, way better than ever before, physically, not physically seeing, but at least virtually seeing. So I just kind of block out my calendar and it specifically says coffee or stretch break, get up and move. And you need to step away from the computer. You need that break, at least once in the morning, once in the afternoon to just ground yourself back to,
mm.
let's say, reality. Get away from the virtualness. Because even honestly, after work, I still am playing on my phone or my personal computer, with the kids or playing Nintendo or something. So the whole virtual electronic aspect is so encompassing. It's surrounding us so heavily nowadays. We really need to just break away. So my first step was creating, those blocks of time where, okay, I just need a break. I need to make sure I get up and move. I can't just sit at this desk
Mm-mm.
and become stationary for, we do work, 8 to 10 hours a day. I don't think there's a normal 8-hour day anymore.
No. Mm-mm.
But we need to be conscious of that. Set alarms. I would also set an alarm for a snack because I was finding, and trying to make sure I balance that with the boundaries. I wasn't eating snacks and or even lunch. I'd have meetings all the way through lunch
Mhm.
nowadays and trying to catch up with everybody, right? Virtually, it's one meeting after another. I set an alarm on my phone. I'm sorry, guys. I need to go and get a snack, or, it's time now. I have my snack set up. Sometimes it can be a little bit, prep in advance, but doing those little steps can really help break up the day and create that nice, um, I don't know, routine to keep those gray boundaries if you have to have them, you know, possible. I don't know what the best word is here. Because yeah, it's harder and harder with us working from home and doing everything virtual to really have a black and white. I don't think that's possible anymore. Whereas before, you could get in the car, right? You
Yeah.
could set your brain in the right way to just start work, right? And you can decompress on the way home. Whereas now you don't have that separation. So, even something that Carol helped me recognize too, I get up every morning, I work out, I make it a point to shower and get dressed. I wear
Mhm.
what I would want to wear at work. So, I have that separation. As soon as I clock off here, I go and put on my comfy clothes and I am now home, right? That's it. So, having those little boundaries to click and recognize can help trigger that.
That also, yeah, that does help with the habits and patterns, because I noticed, again, we drove down here and because we have the dogs with us. And
Yeah.
I noticed being down here, I said to myself, I didn't really pack a lot of clothes. We're down here for 5 weeks. There's a washer and dryer. Good Lord, I don't need to pack a lot of clothes, right? The clothes I did pack, I'm like, "That's it. You better not pack these clothes and you're not gonna wear them." And I found last week, I was wearing a little bit more than just staying in my workout clothes and maybe throwing a scarf on up in Michigan just to foof it up, and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I get pretty I get lazy. Just talk about getting sedentary. Forget the sedentary. I get
Mhm.
lazy and very, it's very I get very set in a way that can really, especially now in Michigan, wintertime, where we're lacking a lot of sunlight.
Yes.
We've got, 50-degree
The
one day,
gray.
8 inches of
Yes.
snow the next. I caught myself going a little down there, or like, today, I don't need to put makeup on today. I don't have that much going on. But
No.
no, now I did that down here over the weekend because we were just laying back on the weekend. I was in my workout clothes all day long. No, but
That's what a
that's my
weekend's
weekend.
for.
That's what,
Relaxing.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It really does make a difference when, you get up and do a little zhuzhing. You don't have to go all the way to the,
Nope.
if you don't want to, but doing the zhuzhing, um, and scheduling. Lisa, I know you're here. I see your comments. I'm going to address these comments, so hang tight. I'm not ignoring you, Lisa. But she did say she loves the idea of scheduling breaks. We schedule our whole lives. Why not? I mean, I felt like the Queen of England or Queen of whatever, it's Queen of South Carolina yesterday. In between my clients, I came out and made a little spinach salad and sit down and ate. I'm like, what is this? It's amazing, which is part of that self-care, taking that time
You need
in
to be an
between.
active part to make it happen. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen naturally. We're just not those types of creatures. Like you said, we're lazy. I mean,
Yes.
anything that's easy. That's why electronics and the whole internet has come around. And, we take everything for granted. We just want ease and we want quick and simple. But for our health and our sanity, we really need to take an active
Yeah,
part. And
I do.
yeah, even if that means scheduling, a break and
Yes.
just blocking out the calendar so people recognize I am busy at this time.
Yes.
Schedule around it, but this is a hard stop for me. I need this time.
And you had said that too, back before the holidays. You had said to me, a lot of times you start early because of the time change between America and Europe.
True.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and I know that because I have clients in Europe. That time change is you'll start early, and then at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's it. Bye bye. I'm done. I've put in a 10-hour day already. Don't be bugging me. This is a hard stop for me. And you did say, yes, if you guys are working on a project and there's some intense timelines, of course, there's
Those are
that.
exceptions, but
Those
they're
are an
not the
exception. Yes,
norm.
right. That
Yeah.
you stick, you really live and stick by that. And I think that is amazing that you do that because when your kids are walking in the house from school, guess what? Mom is
I'm
present. Yep. And if mom has a timeline, I bet you could be trading off with dad and stuff like that. I mean, this is the
yes.
advantage of all of us being working from home. And I had said that to the gentleman because we had stopped and chatted for a while the other day. I hope we go back to hybrid, but I hope we do in sections or teams, whatever you want to call it, where team A in the office, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, team B, da da da, so that rush hour traffic is less and the quality of our lives are not in rush hour traffic. You know what I mean? And you've got your
Yeah.
days home where the crock pot is going and dinner's ready and kids are coming in through the house and still being to have that
Yeah.
career. It's like, to me, that's having everything. That's really having the best of all worlds in
I
situations.
would agree.
If you can be strong with those boundaries, like I see with you. All right, now before we go on, and I made a promise to Lisa I would acknowledge. She put in a great comment. And she said regarding the hiring quotas, and Lisa used to be did spend time in
Yeah.
organization corporate America. I agree with you, Lisa. She had said until we give the POC the same access to be considered for opportunities. And you're right, Lisa. It's just like what Amanda was saying. We get lazy with ourselves. Same thing in corporate America. We want to take what's sitting right there in front of us as opposed to maybe opening up another door and going a little deeper and a little bit further to give those opportunities. So, Lisa, that's why I said I'm not ignoring you. That was a great comment. And thanks for chiming in on that, what Amanda and I were talking about. All right. So, Amanda, now that you are in this amazing position and mainly women, but you have one man on your team, is what's your goal? How are you bringing women supporting and creating that sacred space and supporting women so that they just don't go up and go, I'm fine. I got my you know what all together here today, even though behind the scenes I'm falling apart. But again, I
Sure.
say I'm fine, I'm burnt out. How are you supporting, especially your team and the other women around you in a very male dominating environment? What's your
Yeah.
goal? I mean, like, what's in the future for 2022?
What's in the future for 2022? Well, for me, I just want to stay healthy. I want to make sure that
Yeah.
I keep those boundaries. Stress it's been proven that stress can reduce your immune system,
Mhm.
which then allows many things to possibly occur to you. So, you know, in that way, my goal is to stay healthy and to share that with everybody else. So, whereas I have boundaries, I want my team and the people I work with as well to have boundaries, right? We need to be respective of those, but also ensure that we create an environment that allows for that open dialogue. I actually had this same conversation this morning with my team, in the fact, these are new people that are reporting to me, and I'm super excited, and just due to the time frame, haven't been able to give them the dedicated like one-to-one sessions so we can get to know each other on a more personal level. But I just expressed to them, hey, I'm here for you as much as you want to share or don't want to share. You'll find that I personally, I do mention that there's that gray zone, and I try and keep it as small as possible. But to be fully transparent, to keep that as small as possible, I want the team to know what's going on with me. So if I'm truly not available, you understand why. So otherwise, we are in this digital world. We have so many means to be contacted. You can contact me by any way possible, and I'll get back to you as soon as I'm able. But, and my out of office is I make it a point to explain why I'm out of office. So maybe I'm traveling, or maybe I'm having surgery, or I have a doctor's appointment. Having had cancer, I still have up teen
Yeah,
million doctor
sure.
appointments and checkups. And during those time frames, I'm truly not available. But anytime after that, sure. I can talk in my car while I'm driving, hands free, of course, if there's a question or a need for it, right? So, in having that conversation, it's really just having that dialogue with each individual team member, getting to know them personally, as well as, I'm a very person type of manager. I focus on the individuals, and I want to make sure that they have either better what I had, if not have things that I didn't have. So, in the start of my career, I really didn't have a career path. I didn't have an ally or a mentor to guide me to where I needed to go or what I should do to get to where I needed to go. And I still say this to this day. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
I want to be fluid and grow and learn. And that's that continuous learning desire I have. But for my people as well, I want to have that dialogue. Do you know where you want to be? Is there an area of interest that we should guide you to? Should we focus um, our assignments towards that? I don't want to keep people forever because everybody needs to grow.
Mhm.
And if we're the right manager, we recognize that, right? And we're continuously trying to grow our people so they can move on to that next step, whether it's with us or without us. So that's more or less my management style and what I'm trying to do with my people. I'm really excited with the team that I get to work with now, both directly and indirectly. So I'm excited for this new role, honestly.
That's exciting. Congratulations on that new role as well too. That's we need more people like you that wear the heart on the sleeve but still get shit done and
Yeah,
realize how up and coming emerging need mentors and allies because when you're saying that I immediately went back to my corporate career which was a long long time ago. I mean, imposter syndrome, I didn't even know what that was, and I was living that, I mean, and lies, and just to get into that room with the men, because I knew once I got in there, I could maneuver, but in the intimidation, all that, I had no female. I mean, the females that I had
me too.
were cutting my throat and stabbing me in the back, which a lot of that stuff needs to stop too, because that
Yes,
still goes on. My attitude is, look, I cannot be any more successful until the woman standing next to me is just as successful. Period.
exactly.
Period. And I love to show up very vulnerable authentic and transparent. I mean, it could be it's messy on some days, and on some days it's not. And I don't strive for perfection because I'm a recovering perfectionist.
I don't think perfection is achievable. Nothing's
No,
perfect, but there's
no, yeah.
always ways for us to improve. That's the great thing about life.
Yes, that's right. I love that. Always ways to improve and grow and grow. And with that being said,
Exactly.
Amanda, the name of my show, of course, is Your Bold Voice. So, what piece of your boldness are you still working on that seems to keep showing up, maybe rearing its head a different way than you would like?
Well, in continuously trying to learn and grow, that I think my biggest issue that keeps reappearing is my confidence is not always as high as I would like it to be.
Mhm.
So I'm continuously working on that, meeting great people like you and being re-energized to continue that message and that motivation going through. I truly believe in trying to make things better for other people, improving on what I had or truly just giving what I didn't have. So, in trying to do that and continuously speak my voice, there's always a little bird in my ear, are you sure that's the right thing to do? Do you really want to say that? Do you really want to do that? And that can waver my confidence
Yeah.
just a bit, to question. So, I think that's what my reoccurring limitation is, I think, to truly living that bold voice is sometimes that little bird, shakes my confidence a bit. And I think that's a normal occurrence, at least in my experience, but it's recognizing it and trying to address it when you see it happening.
That priceless what you just said. That little bird, I call her the hag in the attic, and boy, is she haggy.
I love that.
You've never,
Yes.
I thought you've never heard me say that.
No,
Wow,
I've never
yes.
heard that.
Yeah, the inner critic, I address her as the hag in the attic. She is the hag in the attic. And,
Yeah.
we need to learn how to make her our ally as opposed to her controlling us all the time. And
Hmm.
there's always going to be that little voice that goes off. But what you
Hmm.
just said is being able to recognize whether it's like you call it the little bird, or I call it the hag,
The
or
heck.
or someone else I crossed paths with a couple years ago called it the bitch in the basement. Whatever that case may be.
Wonderful.
Yes,
Yeah.
is recognizing it and being able to
Yeah.
pause and go, what is it do I need right now in this moment? So that hag bird, whatever, doesn't become olive oil feeding organic spinach to Popeye and getting so blown out of proportion.
Yes.
It's, and by the way, a confidence, and I don't know if you know this about me, but my first business is a fitness business, and it was huge at one time, and it's still alive. When we work out, because you get up every morning and you work out,
Yeah.
think about those mornings and I just had the morning this morning where I'm like, I need to walk. I got to get outside. It clears the cobwebs out of my head. And plus, I'm
Hmm.
I'm not in I'm not in Michigan weather, so I'm going to get out and I'm going to walk, right?
Utilize that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this morning I looked at Grace and I'm like, you and we're moving a little slow, aren't we? And the humidity slows my 10-year-old black lab down a little bit. That's what confidence is like. We wake up, and sometimes we have some fantastic, strong interviews, and there's some days where we're like, my body might need just
Ooh,
laying down and doing some
yeah.
yoga stretches and some shavasana. Confidence is the same way. It's like a muscle. Some days it's on the Richter scale of 85 plus. Now, if you notice, I didn't go to 100. And then some days it's down, maybe inching towards the 60%. And of course, hopefully not going below that 50% on a Richter scale of a large Richter scale here, but it ebbs and it flows. I mean, one day you may have a little bit lack of sleep and we wake up and we're off. You might have had a very bold, daring conversation the day before with a team member, and it's just got you going. Or like you said, you're getting ready to step out of pushing a little bit of a comfort zone there. She's going to chime. She's going to chime. And it's just knowing,
Mhm.
not letting her chime so loud. It keeps us small, under the table, and our lips closed and not really stepping into our authentic voice. So I think that was so beautiful what you had said, that confidence. It's not as strong. And yes, there are days it's not as strong as we'd like it to be. But when we get
Yep.
into that, I need it stronger. That's where the stress comes, imposter syndrome, and other people's opinions, all that stuff starts chiming up, and we can't force that stuff. We need to learn how to be, um, give ourselves some space in grace,
Absolutely. Yes.
and that we're human and we can't always be 500% on our game.
And that's why I say there is no such thing as perfection.
Yes, yes, yes.
We are as good as we're going to get, and we can just continue to improve, right?
That's
Work
all.
on things, and that's all anybody can ask of us.
That's all we can
So,
do. So I want to say this to everyone that is tuning in and listening. For those who are going to hit the replay, if you are not following Amanda on LinkedIn, get connected with Amanda on LinkedIn. She's got a lot to say. I love women in your position, Amanda, where you're not only are you breaking the ceilings, but you're shattering the floors too for upcoming emerging leaders as well, women of all, all color, all shape, all sizes, of, all ethnicity, all diverse backgrounds. And we need more of this, especially in a male dominating situation and environment. I mean, I have all for you, that do it. You're in your lane. You knew this when you were between 7 and 9 years old, and you just went with it. And obviously you had parents too that didn't say, "Oh, that's for boys, not for girls," and things like that, and go after your dream, girl. I mean, if it's working with electronics and building and getting on in there,
yeah,
go, do what you got to do. So that is
exactly.
just amazing. All right, I want to wrap the show up with some amazing Amanda Badass bold words to wrap up the show with. Anything you want to put out there?
Ooh. Oh, goodness. What could I say? Um, all you got to do is try.
Mm,
You don't know what you don't know until you try.
yes,
So it
it's
goes
true.
to everything.
That's so true. I agree with you. All you got to do is try. One foot forward in front of the other. You just got to try. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I was so excited to join. So,
Yes.
my
And
pleasure.
and if I was in Michigan, you know what? I would have been emailing you or texting you going, "Okay, come over to my house. We're going to do this in person."
There's always next time, right?
There's always next time. Or we can do it when we're hiking or something. That hike we're going to do as soon as
Absolutely.
when that ice
Yes.
is gone and that snow is gone, we're going to get out there. And so
That's
thank
the
you for
plan.
joining me. Sit tight. Let me close the show out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lisa, for chiming in on our conversation. Lisa, we so appreciate you, and everyone else for listening. I'll catch you right back here next week, next Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for yet another Your Bold Voice. If you heard anything between Amanda and I in our amazing conversation today, and something's got your goat, inner critic hanging the attic is a chumping, reach out in the back end and private message one of us. I still have a couple, I'm still taking on a couple one-on-one coaching clients. I'm getting to the end there where we won't be opening that back up until the fall. So if you are interested, just go ahead and reach me in a private message, and I'll be more than happy to swing back around and have a dialogue with you. But make it a great day, everybody, and we'll see you right here, same time, same place next week. Take care.